Mental health awareness is a subject that thankfully, globally, we are gaining a greater awareness and understanding of by the day, helping to break down the stigma surrounding mental health issues. I'm delighted to be joined by former England cricketer Graeme Fowler, who has been devoted to improving the mental and emotional resilience of elite cricketers across the country and was appointed the Mental Health Ambassador for the Durham County Cricket Club Foundation earlier this year. His honesty surrounding his own mental health journey continues to inform, inspire, and is testament to the wonderful work he does to promote positive mental well-being, helping to bowl out the stigma surrounding mental health. I'm Sarah Lorcan, Graeme Fowler. The pleasure is all mine. Graeme, mental health awareness appears to be a great passion of yours. You're doing a great job working as the Mental Health Ambassador for the Durham County Cricket Club Foundation, where you run various mental health awareness workshops and encourage players to talk openly about mental health within cricket. You've openly spoken about your mental health struggles that you've faced over the years. One of the strongest messages you like to get across is that it's only a passage of time, which is very simple yet clear and comforting message for those who may be struggling. Has taking on this new role helped you as well? The sense of achievement, knowing that you're helping others, must feel so great.
I started on Twitter just talking about it. And then a publisher from, Ian Marshall, he also edits the Playfair. He's from Simon and Schuster. He said, have you thought about writing another book? Because I'd written one in 86. I said, no, I've never really thought about it. Why? He said, I think you've got a story. He said, and you've got to include, but you must include your mental health issues. So I did, I wrote it, and it sold very well. I went to a couple of dinners where people came up to me with the book, wanted it to be signed, and said, if it wasn't for this book, I wouldn't be here. And once you hear that sort of thing, you think, wow. So I felt that duty bound to do it, because if that's helping people, you can't stop, can you? You can't just walk away from it. You have to carry on. You have to pursue it. And I did find that more and more people responded to it, and it saved them, or it helped them through some of their issues. So you just keep going. You just got to keep going. And then I wrote the follow-up book to Absolutely Fox, which is called Mind Over Batter. And in that, my John Woodhouse, the guy who I co-wrote it with, he said, you can't talk about everybody else's mental health and not have your own assessed properly. So I railed against it for a while, but then I thought, no, I have to do it. I have to find out why I am like I am. And the only person I could ever sit down with, in my eyes, was Mike Brealey, who's a clinical psychologist. And the reason why I could only sit with him was because he understands what it's like to be a cricketer. He understands the competitiveness, the fact that you're driven. He understands success, failure, the lifestyle. So a lot of it I didn't need to say because he already understood. So I went and sat down with him. And the first 3-4 hours was quite painful, really. But then we identified what actually sends me into depression. And the second time I went down with him and I sat with him, I said, okay, well, if we've identified what sets me off, how do we combat that? How do we get around that? And it was incredibly simple. What sends me into depression, or did the first time, was I was in an impossible situation. Somebody tried to make, I had 2 small children, I wasn't working full time, and somebody tried to make me bankrupt the day before Christmas. And I had no solution, and I couldn't think of a way out. And that set me off. I did find a solution in the end, and I got out of it, and didn't go bankrupt, but that massively affected me. And he said, I always find, if I have a problem, I always find either a solution or the best option. It was only when I couldn't find either of those that I go into depression. So I then said to him, what do I do about it then? He said, you walk away from it. Pardon? He said, you just simply walk away from it. There's nothing you can do. Just forget it and carry on. And that sounds ridiculously easy. And it is. And it's worked. So if I've come up against something, I had a second one where I was in a ridiculous situation. This was 2014. And I was put in an awful position at work. But I struggled again because I couldn't find, but I did manage eventually to find the best solution. But after that, after saying, Mike, really, if I come up against something, and I only have once, it's dead simple, I just walked away from it. And it sounds ludicrously easy, but it is. It did work for me. Now, it won't work for everybody, because everybody's mental health is as different as their personality. So it's just something that suited me. So I've been sharing my experiences. I'm not medically qualified. Just sharing my experiences and talking with people. We seem to find common ground, and it makes it easier. I mean, I suppose one of the old adages is a problem shared is a problem halved, and that sometimes can work. And the other thing that I'm very strong about is that when I was first depressed, I was more or less catatonic. I mean, I'm sitting in the conservatory right now. Just behind those curtains is the living room. And when I was at my worst, the little and Alexa Ray was at nursery, and Georgina and Catherine were at 9 and 8, and they were at school, and Sarah went to work. And I would just lie on the sofa in that room, stare out of the window, no telly, nothing, and no thought processes going on. And I remember one day I wanted a cup of tea, and it was impossible for me to get off the sofa to make a cup of tea. I couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. And because of that nature of it, I couldn't think. I couldn't string words together. I couldn't talk to anybody. Sarah just said to me, this is before I'd been diagnosed, you need to go to the doctors. And the reason being, I've been working at the university 10 years, so I knew exactly what I was doing. I've been running the Centre of Excellence. And our first term finished mid-December. We didn't go back till mid-January. So I had a great space of time to spend with the family. And I didn't have any preparation to do because I already knew what I was doing. And it was the first week in January, and Sarah just said to me, you've got to go to the doctors. So what for? She said, you're depressed. I said, I'm what? She said, you're depressed. I said, what do you mean? She said, you haven't spoken to any of us for 4 weeks. I said, what? And then Georgina, who was 8, said, Dad, you just sit in the conservatory every day with a Land Rover magazine, and it's the same magazine. And I hadn't realised I'd disconnected so much. Yeah. So I did go to the doctor, and we discussed various things. And he said, "Yeah, you're clinically depressed. How do you want to go about treatment?" And he said, "Do you want to go and talk to somebody, therapy?" And I said, "Well, that's pointless for me because I can't form any words, and I don't want to see anybody. So we went down the heavy medication route, and I was on 1,500 milligrams of, I think it was citalopram at the time, which was massive. After a while, the doctor said to me, he said, "Have you thought about suicide?" And I said, "No, because I know I have a good family. I know I have a great life. I know I have a great job, but it's somewhere over there and I can't get to it. So am I going to kill myself? The answer is no. But do I wish I was dead? Yes." So we went on this massive drug intake. And after a while, I stopped wanting to be dead and just felt numb, which was actually an improvement. But I couldn't tell the kids because they were 9, 8 and 2. I couldn't tell them what was wrong. They knew something was wrong, but I couldn't explain it. So Sarah tried. And then one day, this is a few months after I'd been diagnosed, I don't know where it came from, but it just came out of the blue. And I came up with a scale. And it's 0 to 20. 10 is neutral. Below 10, I'm not well. Above 10, I am. I mean, at the moment, I've never been a 1, never been a 19. So I operate basically between about 3 and 16. Well, at the moment, I'm 14, so I'm 5. And as soon as I came up with this scale, and I explained it to Sarah. She explained it to the girls. So the girls would come in from school and nursery and say, "What number are you, Daddy?" And I'd say 7. "Okay, do you want us to sit with you? Would you like to be left on your own?" Didn't matter what I said, they'd just get on with it. If they came in and I said I was 12, they went, "Oh, God, can we do something?" "Yeah, come on, let's go do something." And that has worked. We still use it now. We still use it to this day. And I came up with that in, I think, 2009. And it's a few months ago now, but Sarah and I were sitting watching the television, and she just said, "What number are you?" I said, "I'm about 14. Why?" She said, "Oh, that's all right." She said, "You just haven't said anything for about 3 hours." I said, "No, I'm really interested in this documentary. That's what I'm sorry." But we still use it. And my girls use it as well. They know. Kate, the eldest, hers is 1 to 10, but she has to be different. But we still use that scale. And I went, Georgina's got a master's in Mandarin, and I went to visit her in China. And when I got there, the first thing she said was, "What number are you?" And I said, "I'm a 15. I remember saying it. And her little face lit up because she knew that she wouldn't have to protect me from things and keep asking me if I was all right. Because if I'm below 10, I can't stand being in crowds. I can't stand people. I hate being inside. So it's just a self-explanatory. It's just a numerical system, and it works. And I've told all the lads that at Durham County Cricket Club, all the players, and I said, because cricket's a game that everybody says is played in the head. 95% of training is physical. How much mental training do we do? And we do very little. Is it possible to learn mental toughness? Yes, the answer is yes, because if you couldn't make a soldier. So I'd say to them, when you wake up, if you've got a knock the following day playing cricket, you'll wake up the next day and you'll close your eyes and you'll assess yourself. Is it sore? Am I injured? Or am I fine? We never do that mentally. Why do you not wake up in the morning and go, "How am I? Is there anything changed from yesterday? Do I still feel as good as I did yesterday? Or is there a cloud hanging over me?" We never do that. So I do that every day, and I encourage other people to do it, because once you start to analyse how you are and you begin to understand how you are mentally, it's easier to spot if things are going wrong or getting better. And it's such a useful thing, and hardly anybody does it.
Kindness has been the main theme of 2020 so far. I think it's true what they say, that a simple act of kindness goes a long way. It's not hard to be kind. It's actually quite simple. And it's also important to be kind to yourself as well. How do you ensure that you take time for yourself when you're so busy helping others?
Through playing cricket and batting. When you bat, I mean, the longest I ever batted in one innings was 9 hours, 27 minutes. You do not concentrate for 9 hours, 27 minutes. It's impossible. What you do is you concentrate in little spells. So I'll be switched off. Then the ball will turn around at the end of his run up and I'll switch on. And then I'll play that ball, and whatever happens after the ball's gone dead, I switch off again. So I get rest very quickly. So even in a very busy day, I can switch off for 30 seconds, 40 seconds. So I get many little spells to myself. I mean, if you think about it, it's almost like a conscious daydream. So that's what I do. And I also know if I'm struggling a bit, I need to be outside. I need to be on my own. Because I can't stand, if I'm going down, I can't stand too much noise and too much interference, and it just gets me. So I just take myself out, take myself away. And there are little triggers that I spot within myself now. Well, one of them is I'll get ridiculously opinionated about something that I don't care about. And I'll get angry about it. And then I'll think, hang on a minute. Oh, yeah, just peg back a bit, just calm down a bit. And another one is that if my numbers are going below 10 or starting to go below 10, I find myself tidying all the towels in the airing cupboard. And I know it sounds stupid, but that's just a little indicator to me. You know, so you know what it's like. Well, I don't know whether you do, but when you've got kids, I mean, I was 25, 24 and 18 now. So the towel's in the airing cupboard. I'd never tidy. But I take great delight in opening the cupboard, looking in and not being bothered. Just not giving a toss. Because those, you know, just spot little indicators. So I do manage to get, you know, time on myself very, 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 very easily, really.
Lockdown has been a particularly testing time for all, but you've managed to successfully continue to promote positive mental well-being through various inspirational videos that demonstrate that self-isolation does not mean isolating yourself mentally or emotionally, and suggest that we may look back at lockdown and view it as the opportunity of a lifetime, which is a great message.
There is a lot in that. Personally, 80-90% of lockdown I've enjoyed. I really have, because for the first 4 weeks, Catherine, the eldest, has got a little 4-year-old daughter, so we were all in this house together. So nobody was going anywhere. It was absolutely brilliant. Hardly anybody watched television. We sat and talked. We took turns in making quizzes. And so it was, everybody started cooking different. Well, that basically Alexa, Ray, Georgina and Sarah started cooking between them, and little Zara, she sort of joined in and helped. So it was absolutely brilliant. Then what happened is Kate only lives a mile away, and she'd not been anywhere. So we're still in a bubble, but it's like a split site bubble now, because Kate's taking Zara home because she wanted to go home and play with her toys at her house. So we just moved backwards and forwards. So it's still brilliant, but we're a split site lockdown, and I've really, really enjoyed it. And I'm quite a practical sort of bloke. So I repaired the garden gate, that was fine. I made a garden bench. I made a pallet bed for Alexa Ray and put lights on it and everything. I've made 3 coffee tables out of old drums.
Brilliant.
I've made a standard lamp out of a 1950s battery charger and a outdoor heater, parts of an outdoor heater. So I spent a lot of time doing things that I really enjoy. You know, making lamps, making lampshades, you know, doing all sorts of bits of things like that. So I've kept myself busy. I've also laid an extra 40 square yards of turf in the garden to make the lawn bigger. So I've tried to keep myself busy. The only time that I've struggled, but not mentally, just struggled boredom-wise, was when I'd finished a project and I hadn't thought about what the next one would be, and I had nothing to do. Because Kate was working from home, Sarah's working from home. She's project manager in the NHS, so she's been flat out. And then, so there's just been Georgina, Alexa Ray, me and little Zara. So Zara wants to play with the girls, and there are times when I've just sat there and thought, what the hell can I do? I need to do something. But yeah, we made some videos for Durham County Cricket Club. And they were good. They were quite good. But then Josie got furloughed, so I couldn't send them to them. So that, unfortunately, that stopped. But we'll pick that back up again. We're planning to put a lot of these little things on the Durham County website when we get back in the same room together. And so it'll just expand nicely. So I've actually enjoyed. To be honest, I've enjoyed not having to go anywhere.
You've been sporting some rather fabulous lockdown nails. Not today, though.
No, not today. No, Kate's not here. It's always Kate. She does her nails and says, "Dad, come on." So I did, but which has caused a bit of amusement. I live in the countryside. We can see 30 miles out of the back of the garden. So I've been going on a lot of walks. And I had blue, I think they were blue nails, and I've gone for a walk. I got to a level crossing, the barrier was down, so I'm here, and there's a woman about 15 yards away, and we just got talking, and she said, "Which way is it to Het Village?" And I said, "Well, just follow me, that's where I'm going." And we got discussing lockdown, and I said, "Well, I've got 3 daughters." I said, "That's why my fingers are like this." And she said, "Oh, I didn't know whether you had a disease or not."
Oh.
She said, "I thought they looked blue." I said, "They are blue, but it's just my nails." So that caused, because I'd forgotten, I had blue nails. So that's caused a bit of a laugh. So we've done daft things as well.
Have you been doing any writing? Could another book be on the cards?
No, I haven't done any writing. I find that the hardest thing to do. I'd rather stand up in front of 1,000 people and talk, or broadcasting. I'd rather do that. I'd rather do this than sit down and write. And the reason being, and this is completely true, I'm embarrassed by my own grammar. I mean, some of it's good, but some of it isn't, because I was brought up in Accrington, and our English teachers weren't that good. I didn't know until I married Sarah. Instead of saying, "Can you pass me them shoes?" I didn't know it wasn't them, it was those. So I get a bit twitchy about my grammar. But when I used to write a column every week for the Sunday Telegraph, and the editor, once, because I used to write it, Sarah would correct the grammar and then we'd send it in. And he rang Sarah up once. He said, "Sarah, will you stop correcting his grammar?" And she said, "Why?" He said, "Because people read it in Graeme's voice. So don't correct his grammar, because otherwise it doesn't sound like him." Which I thought was an interesting way of doing it. But so no, I haven't done any writing really.
What has lockdown taught you, or how has it changed you?
It's taught me that people don't need to fly around. You know, you can just relax a bit. And the amazing thing for me, when I've been out walking, and you have to walk past people, how polite people have been and how kind people have been. Yeah. It was such a surprise, because normally if you go walking, you just walk past somebody, but at the moment, because it's almost like a special event passing somebody, it is around here anyway, everybody says hello. "Hello, how are you? How are you doing? Where are you going?" And it's like, wow, this is brilliant. I think it's taught me although I think I already knew this, it's taught me the value of friendship. Because I, for quite a while, and still do, will just ring one of my friends up out of the blue. Now, normally, a telephone for me is just for communication. Right, I'll meet you at 9 o'clock, or I'll get these for you. It's something like that. But so to actually ring my mates up and for a conversation has been quite unusual. But everybody that I've done that with, I mean, I have a very good friend. He lives in I think it's a 4th floor flat in Cardiff. So he lives on his own. So the poor bugger, he's just stuck there. So I rang him up, and we were on the phone for about an hour. And at the end of it, we both really enjoyed it. And everybody that I've rung up like that, at the end of the phone call, has said, "Thank you for ringing, that was lovely." You know, and it's not a difficult thing to do, is it? No. So it's made me understand the depth of friendship that I have with, I don't know, 8, 9 people that I value, and I've actually got proper conversations with them. The same with the family. I've got to know our girls way better during lockdown than I would have done if we weren't in lockdown, because we've been together and we've discussed things in depth. We haven't forced it; it's just sort of happened. So it's taught me that. Taught me how that if you just calm down a bit and if you just sit and relax, you get more out of it. We've hardly watched any television at all. You know, it's been so I've loved that aspect of it. So it's created, it's spread things out. You're not in a rush anymore, and that's lovely, and I really enjoy that. I've missed the cricket, obviously. I've missed the interaction with players and doing the mental health stuff. I miss my friends, but overall, it's been a great experience for me.
Sport all round, as we know, is great for people's mental health. The physicality of playing and participating in sport has been shown to have a really positive effect and influence on people's mental well-being. And watching sport can bring people together and also be an escape. The effect of not having live sport on our screens during the start of lockdown was tough. So lockdown has certainly highlighted the power of sport and the major part it plays in people's lives. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would. I go back to your first point, though. The sport is good for people. It gets them out, it gets them socialising, it gives them confidence. I would probably limit that to amateur sport. Professional sport's a different thing. I'm not saying that you don't enjoy it and it doesn't help you. I mean, it can lift your spirits no end, but there's a different connotation to having to perform when you're playing professionally, and which in itself can bring pressure, which does bring pressure, because you have to perform more times than you fail. So it's not, because then your job's under threat if you're not playing well. So that brings the pressure. It doesn't necessarily bring mental health issues, and I point that out. I never had any mental health issues during the 20 odd years I played. But I think amateur sport, yes. I mean, people get fed up when they get out for a duck and get smashed all over the ground when they're bowling, of course, or letting 5 goals in playing Sunday morning football, yes. But I think that the fact that we missed it so much has really proved to a lot of people who didn't really think so, how much sport is a part of our society at every level. From kids all the way through to pensioners, every walk of life. And I've never been a massive football fan, because I was as a kid, but then when I started playing cricket, I would often be in England during the summer, in Australia during the winter. So I lost touch with football. And I did that for between 1979 and 1990. So I did it a long time. I think I had 9 winters just in Perth, Australia, 1 in Tasmania, and then 3 England tours. So I was never here. So I lost touch with football. So I'm not an avid watcher of it, but I follow 1 or 2 teams. I always see how Burnley have done, because I used to go and watch them as a kid now and again. And I missed it. I couldn't believe I missed it. Because I didn't really sit down and watch it a massive amount, but because I couldn't, I felt I didn't know what to do, especially on Saturday night. No match of the day. Now that theme tune has been part of my life for as long as I can remember. Yeah. And I used to sit with my dad and watch it, and then all of a sudden, it's not on. I mean, obviously, when I was playing cricket, I might not be home on Saturday night during the winter because I'd be somewhere else in the world. But when I'm here and there's no match of the day, that was bizarre, really bizarre.
Live events coming to a complete standstill and then having to be played behind closed doors is certainly a situation that I'm sure others would never have envisaged happening. So if anything, this pandemic has been a real eye-opener and a reminder not to take anything for granted. As a spectator, which sports do you enjoy watching, and how are you finding the new setups? Because the fake crowd noise in particular has caused quite a stir.
I don't listen to it with the fake crowd noise on, because to tell you the truth, I turn the volume up and listen to the players.
Yes.
Some of what they say is absolutely hilarious. So I like that. And I don't mind the cricket without crowd noise, because I know what's going on, I can pick things up, and when they hit the ball, it sounds so much better when there's no crowd noise because it's so much crisper. So I don't mind it. I love watching rugby, although I don't really know a lot about it, but I love it. I understand a bit, but I love watching it. I love watching both league and rugby union.
Finally, some good news for the cricketing world. Cricket has made a welcome comeback. There was an ongoing debate during lockdown around the decisions that were made around the football season starting sooner than the cricket season. One of the main arguments being that football is a contact sport, whereas cricket is a non-contact distanced sport. So very frustrating times for players and fans. How did you feel about the decisions that were made? Were you baffled by these decisions too?
Well, I wasn't that baffled, because by the time we got around to making decisions about cricket, I had formed very strong opinions about Boris Johnson and the government. And I don't really want to discuss them here. I don't think this is the place to do it. But I'll just say quite simply, I think that they're a bunch of liars. And for them to actually turn around, for Boris Johnson to turn around and call, what did he call the cricket ball? Natural vector of disease. Those were the exact words he used. That is just ridiculous. What sort of man is he if he calls a cricket ball a natural vector of disease? You're miles apart. You don't have to come in contact with anybody if you don't want playing cricket.
Yes.
It's just ridiculous. I mean, the closest two people will be the wicketkeeper standing behind the wickets and the batsman. And they're still 6-8 feet apart. So to say you can't play was just, well, it's just stupid. And no wonder it annoyed people. You know, if you watch football, how often do the players spit? They never stop spitting. And yet, this is how it's passed on. I'm not saying cricketers don't spit, some do. But we're now playing test matches where you're not putting saliva on the ball, and it's not been difficult. Not been difficult at all.
Yes. Although I could understand the health and safety measures that were put in place, and health and safety should always be a priority, it almost felt like it was one rule for one and one for the other. Because when you look at the technicalities of the game, like you said, shining the ball with saliva is used during a game of cricket, but the ball is still handled during a game of football.
Yeah. Throw-ins. Yeah. I mean, they're on top of each other. I mean, when they go for a header and all this sort of stuff, they're that far apart. So yeah, I thought it was, but I wasn't surprised, because the amount of inconsistencies that have been during this period have just been phenomenal. You know, one rule for them, one rule for us, and they've done it in various sectors. They've done it in different ways. You know, I've never been as interested in politics as I have been during this lockdown. And to be honest, I'm appalled by what I've seen. Absolutely appalled. But there we are.
As restrictions continue to be lifted and we all attempt to navigate our way through the path back into normality again, what is the best advice you could give people who may be struggling? What tools have you perhaps learnt over the years that could help others?
I think I got a great piece of advice when I was first depressed from my brother-in-law, who's a psychogeriatric nurse by trade. And he said, do what you must, avoid what you can. And I think that is a good way of keeping a check on yourself. It also means that you are doing the essential things. It is important to be patient with yourself. It's not, mental health issues are a passage of time. So you have to just be patient with yourself and take each day as it comes. Sometimes you might have a good hour in the day, so enjoy that. And if it subsides again, just be patient. You can't, if you get angry with yourself that just makes it worse. So you have to try and not be frustrated. And one of the things that I have said to Kate, our eldest, who's bipolar, is when she starts, or when anybody starts to go into their own head, what can happen is you concoct the worst possible scenario and things go from bad to worse. So you just get in this spiral. So I always say, come out of your own head. Come out, stop thinking. Right, go and play solitaire, play a little game, read a book, listen to some music, but get out of your own head. And if I start going into my own head too much, I mean, you have to think. You know, you have to, if you've got a little problem like making a drum coffee table, I have to work out how to do it. But there's a difference between that and thinking about too deeply about how you are, what's happening. So stay out of your head. Just do little practical things. If I start to get anxious, then I'll play a little game on my phone. Or sometimes I'll read a magazine article or something. But just little things like that to spot them. Stay out of your own head. Be patient. Make sure you eat the right stuff. Make sure you get the right amount of sleep. Don't drink too much, especially if you're on medication. I mean, having said that, I'm going to the pub in an hour and a half. But I know what I can do and what I can't do. And I'm on a very low dosage of, what am I on now? Sertraline. I've been on that since 2015, but just so I know what I'm doing. But yeah, just little things, just tiny little things. Just look after yourself, really. And if you're kind to people, you'll find how kind they are back.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to continue to get the message out there to raise awareness and help break down the stigmas surrounding mental health issues. Yeah. That if people are struggling, then there is help out there available, and helping those people know that they're not alone, highlighting the importance of talking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do a lot of that on Twitter. You know, I have a lot of conversations with people about mental health. You're talking about simple acts of kindness. There's one particular walk I go on around here, and it's about 6.5 miles. It's lovely. It's old countryside. So I did it on a Monday, and I walked past a gate, and there's just a field full of cows. Okay, and then on Wednesday I went, and the gate was open, and I thought, so I shut it, and then I just sat down on the stile that you could climb into the field. I sat down. It was a hot day. I had a drink. I gave Kate's dog a drink. And then I had this car behind me. I turned around, and it was a big pickup truck. So I thought, it's the farmer. So I stood up, and I went and opened the gate. And as he got up to me, he said, "Did you see it was open and then shut it?" I said, "Yeah, I did." I said, "Because I knew there were cows in the other day." He said, "Oh, thanks for that. That's kind of you." I said, "Don't worry about it." I said, "Go on, you go through and I'll shut it." He said, "You're going to shut it for me as well?" I said, "Yeah." Son, thanks, son. I'm 63 and he called me son.
Brilliant.
Well, I giggled about that all day. And the look on his face, because he didn't have to get out of his pickup truck and shut the gate, you'd have thought I'd given him the best Christmas present ever. And it must have cheered both of us up. And I mean, how daft is that? But it's just so lovely.
Just the little things. If I may, I would like to finish with a quote that I've selected from one of your most recent tweets, in a hope that it will help inspire others, which is, "Live in the moment, live in the day, enjoy being who you are and where you are." Wonderful words, and I think that sums up our chat perfectly. Yeah, that's coming out of your head. Live in the moment. It's been lovely to talk. You too. Thank you so much, Graeme. It's been so lovely to meet you, albeit virtually, and hearing your views and your stories. Thank you. I've enjoyed every minute. Thank you. Well, take care of yourself and hopefully see you on the other side very soon. Bye. I will. Bye-bye. Bye.